Say hello, Patricia. Uh, okay, so if this is your very first Michael's Classroom, welcome. We are glad you are here. We have a lot of fun in these classrooms. We try and keep it pretty easy, pretty simple. The class is recorded, so you can always go back. And if there's something you've missed, or maybe at some point in the time you become a little bit overwhelmed, you just want to sit back and relax and just chill out, you just know that information is all recorded for you later on, so you can go back and check it out. If there is a question you want to ask throughout the class, make sure you write it out in the chat room. So Patricia is going to act as my eyes, because obviously I can't like read the chat and then teach and talk all at the same time. I know that I look like I'm Superwoman, but I'm really not, I promise. So when you are asking questions in the chat, Patricia, if she's able to answer them herself, she will do that. If she is like, oh, that's a good question. Hey, Marley, we have a question from so-and-so, and then she'll jump in and she will help me out there. Okay, everybody cool with that? Tonight, we are going to be making a charming headband, a very simple pattern. Patricia has a link that she will put in the chat. So if you have not received this pattern yet, or the link to it, it is free on yarnspirations.com. And I think she is putting a link in there.
Right
There
now.
it is right there. And so you'll be able to get this pattern and follow along. But really, guys, it's so super simple. You won't even like need a pattern in front of you. It's cake. The pattern itself calls for some, it's not worsted weight, it's actually size 5 bulky weight yarn, but I'm going to be using some worsted weight yarn because that's what I have here at the house. And I'm going to talk you through like, okay, how do you decide if you use a bulky or a worsted, or maybe you have something else at your house to choose. We can talk through that. All right, everybody cool with that? Give me a thumbs up. Woo, I love it. I love all the interaction. This is awesome. It's like you've done this before. So happy you guys are here. And if you guys are ready, Alexia, the link is actually right above what you posted. And Patricia, I would see if you could pin that link. I don't know if you can or not, but it might be something you want to do. I'm not really sure. Okay. So I'm going to jump over to my hands and we're going to get started. Everybody have some yarn with them. You're welcome to crochet along with me, or you can just sit back and relax and enjoy the madness, because I'm going to see if I can finish this thing in an hour. Okay, so I am using Yarnspirations Karen Cake yarn, which is sold exclusively at Michael's. And this is a worsted weight yarn. And if you don't know what that means it's a number 4 medium or worsted weight yarn. The pattern calls for Soft Essentials, which is also sold at Michael's, but it is a size 5 bulky weight yarn. All that means is it's a little bit thicker than what this yarn is, and that means that the gauge of this headband might be a little bit bigger than what the gauge will be with this yarn. But because it's a headband, guys, I'm really not stressed out about it. And because the stitch pattern is just double crochet, if I want to add a couple more double crochet to my pattern to make it a little bit bigger, I can do that. Y'all understand how that goes? I mean, it's pretty relatively easy when you understand, if you need it to be a little bit bigger, add a couple more stitches. And because we're just dealing with a basic double crochet, we can just add a couple more stitches if we want to. So I'm not going to stress too much about it. The pattern calls for a size I, or a US size 9, or a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You use whatever size hook you want to use for the density of fabric you want to use for yours. Okay, I do have my I crochet hook right here. Because I know you guys are going to ask, this is a crochet hook that is a basic Susan Bates hook that has a handle on it that I purchased from an Etsy seller. I crochet a lot and my hands start to cramp up, so I need a really good handle. So that's what my crochet hook is. Okay. All right, so we are going to get started here. And right here where it says CH16, it means we're going to chain 16. So we're going to jump on in. If you guys have not crocheted with me before, you probably don't know that I love stitch markers, and I did pull some out so I can help you out. If you are a new crocheter and you need to keep those ends or the edges nice and straight, it's a great way to do it with stitch markers. All right, we're going to begin with a slip knot, and the slip knot is really quite easy. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure this is not on mute. And we put the tail of the yarn in the palm of our hand, take our working yarn, wrap it around your forefinger and your middle finger, and come back up. Then you take this yarn that you pulled up and you just kind of cross it over. rotate your hand. We're going to go underneath this front loop, grab that back loop, and pull it off. That gives us a slip knot. If we pull apart our legs here, it actually can slip away. All right, I'm going to do it one more time. The tail is in the palm of my hand. Take my working yarn, wrap it around my forefinger and my middle finger, and I come back up. Then I cross over. Rotate my hand, go underneath the front loop, grab the back loop, and pull it off. If you have a different way of making a slip knot, go ahead and use it. This is the best way I know how to teach people. We're going to put that loop directly onto our hook and then snug it up. Now, if you're a beginner crocheter, the first thing I want you to know, and this holds true for all your crochet projects, this first loop on your hook does not count as a stitch. Everybody repeat after me. This does not count as a stitch, okay? That's very, very important because as we begin working our chains, we don't say, oh, we have one done because there's one on our hook. No, we don't, okay? What we're going to do now, I'm going to hold my hook like this and see if you guys can do this. I'm holding my yarn in such a way that I am just keeping some tension on it. I like to wrap it around my pinky and hold some tension on it. And then my knot portion, I actually will hold that to keep some stability, okay? I take my hook and I'm going to go around the yarn just like so. And as I pull my hook through this loop that's on my hook, I'm actually going to rotate my hook just like this. And the reason I'm doing that is if you were to look at this loop on my hook, you see how it's kind of like a teardrop? Well, if I were to bring my hook like this, see how it snags it? All right. But if I rotate my hook upside down, see how that hook portion comes right on through that teardrop without snagging anything? You all see what I mean there? So as I go around my yarn and I go to pull it through the loop that's on my hook, if I rotate my hook so that the hook portion is at the bottom of the teardrop, I can get it through nice and easy. And that counts as one chain. All right. So we go around the yarn, pull that through. That's two chain. Around and pull it through. Around and pull it through. After I get 4 or 5 chains, see how they're nice and neat? They look like V's. They look really pretty. I usually will take my hand and I will move it up closer to my hook where I rest the pad of my thumb right onto the top of those V's to hold them stable. And I continue on making chains. And this makes it so that way my chain does not flip and flop around on me and I keep them nice and straight. As you're making your chains and you pull that through, you don't want to then tighten it up like that. See how I just tightened it up and now that chain I created is super duper not there. Like it's like disappearing. We don't want that, okay? So I would undo that. I actually want to make sure that the chain I create is still big enough for me to get into it later on. You guys see that? Okay. I have no idea how many chains I've done. I'm just going to do a couple more and we're going to call that good. All right. You see that? Okay. Now let's count our chains. I like to count them with the V's looking up at me and I will count each of the V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Do I count the one on my hook? And the crowd goes, no. Okay, perfect. So I have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Everybody with me there? I see you. Yep, nods. I see the nods. Perfect. Okay. So we have officially done the first step. This is the beginning of our headband. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to double crochet. That's what DC means. Double crochet in the 4th chain from hook. And it lets us know that the skipped 3 chains are going to count as a double crochet. So that's where we're going to put our stitch marker. So I'm going to count 4 chains from my hook. So I never count the loop on my hook. I count 1V, 2V, 3V. Here's the 4th V, and I'm going to place a double crochet there. So I yarn over my hook. You notice I take my fingers and I usually will rest it on my hook just like this. Obviously, I hold my hook like a pencil. Some of you might hold it like a knife, but I like to hold that yarn over, kind of stabilize it. And then I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to go into that 4th chain that I counted. And I'm seriously I'm just going to pierce right down the center of that V. I'm just going to pierce right down it. And if you were to look at it, it kind of looks like I have that back leg of the V on my hook, and I have that back bump of the chain on my hook. Perfectly fine. We're going to yarn over. Okay, so this is just like when we were chains, right? We just yarn over. We're going to pull that yarn over through the chain and put all 3 of those loops now are on our hook. Now we're going to work our double crochet. So you yarn over, pull through 2 stitches. And here's a tip. If you're a beginner, the first thing I do is I take my hand and I essentially stabilize what I just created. So it's like this post part. I stabilize it so it doesn't get any bigger or any smaller. And then I yarn over and I pull through again. And that creates a nice, consistent, stabilized double crochet. Now, in the pattern, it automatically told you that these initial 3 chains we skipped are going to count as a double, and that's important. So normally, if those chains did not count as a stitch, I would have you put a marker into that V right there that's behind the loop on my hook, because that would be the end of your row. But just because the pattern said these 3 count as a stitch, that means I don't put my marker in that V. I'm going to put it into the next one. So that lets me know that this stitch here that I just marked, that's the last stitch of my row. And so I'm going to keep that there so that way I know exactly where it is. Okay, y'all with me so far? Now I'm going to continue on. I'm going to work double crochets all the way down this row. So I yarn over, I go to the next chain, and you can see it because you can see that you worked into one chain right there. And so you want to go to the next one over. We're going to go into it, yarn over, come out of it, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. You see how I'm getting this nice tall stitch there? We're going to do it into each one. So I yarn over, go to the next chain, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. And as I'm drawing through 2, I am turning my hook essentially upside down. You know what? I keep repeating myself on that because when I first learned to crochet, nobody kind of told me that. And so when it became one of those realization things for me, I was like, oh, because I kept trying to pull my hook like this and I kept snagging my yarn. I was like, what am I doing wrong? So when I realized all I had to do was essentially just turn my hook upside down so that it came through like that teardrop without snagging anything, I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? And so I wanted to make sure I tell all of you because it's an important thing. Draw through 2, draw through 2. And we're just going to do this all the way down the row. You guys are super quiet. I'm curious if you're working along with me here. I think you are. I see a lot of concentrated faces out there.
I'm looking at the gallery view and I see everyone very diligently working.
I know.
Good for you guys.
This first row, I mean, agree with me here, Patricia. This first row, it's always the hardest. No matter how long you've been crocheting, that first row working into, these are called foundation chains, it's always the trickiest and it usually takes the longest. So don't give up. Be patient with yourself. It will happen. You want to go all the way to the end. Here we go. Right there. And if I'm counting, I should have 14 double crochets. So remember these chain 3s right there that I skipped, that counts as 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. The biggest thing here, guys, even though this is a very simple headband, we want to make sure we maintain 14 stitches throughout, because that's usually where, especially beginner crocheters will mess up, is they'll lose a stitch, they'll create an extra stitch. And that's why we're using these stitch markers to make sure our edges are straight, but it will also help you make sure all of your stitches are there. Okay. So at the end of your row, let's see, we go ahead and we're supposed to turn our work. It doesn't say turn, but we're going to turn our work. So we're going to turn our work and we start row 2, which starts off with a chain 3. Well, we know how to do that. We just did 16 of them, right? So we yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, or pull through 1 again, but that's 2. And then yarn over, pull through 1 more, and that gives us 3. And we also know that this initial chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So I'm going to pause right here. Maybe if I can carry everything, I'm going to grab my other marker and I'm going to place my marker in that chain behind the loop on my hook. Okay. You guys see that? So that's the chain behind the loop on my hook. And that lets me know that is the top of the stitch. So when I come back down the next row, I know that that is the stitch I'm going to work into to finish my row. You're going to see how that, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I have a question from someone.
Okay.
Where are you putting the markers? Just at the top of the stitches? At the top of the turn?
The top of the chain here. So on this one down here, it was in the 3rd chain.
Okay.
And right here, we're putting the marker in the 3rd chain again. And so that represents, that's the top of what would be a double crochet. And so when we get down this row, you're going to see that the last stitch of our row is going to be worked into that stitch there that has the marker in it. So most of the people, they'll get down the row, they're like, well, do I count that? Do I not count that? Is that a stitch? And we're saying, yes, we know it's a stitch because I have marked it. And so we're going to make sure we put a stitch there. It's going to make sense here after this row, y'all.
Awesome.
So the other thing to make sure here is that because this counts as a first stitch, you do not put a double crochet into that spot right there. Okay. You see how there's like an opening right there. Can you guys see that? We are not going to put a double crochet there because this chain 3 counts as that double crochet. We're going to put our first double crochet into that spot, that hole right there. Okay. So I see in the instructions now, it said chain 3 and then turn. It's the same deal. You can turn in chain 3 or chain 3 and turn. It doesn't matter. It's totally fine. All right. So I yarned over my hook. I'm going to go into this spot and I want you to see if I put my hook into that hole there, can you see how it looks? This yarn's kind of dark. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would be this dark. Can you see that the V is on top of my hook? Okay. The V is on top of my hook. So I didn't just grab the back of the V. I didn't just grab the front of the V. I put my hook into that hole so that I have the entire V on top of my hook, essentially. I just put it through that hole. Then I yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Okay. Now I will tell you, so the pattern is written so that we're working our stitches into these double crochets. If you wanted to go into like literally the whole space between each post stitch, you could do that and then finish with your double crochet into that marked stitch. You could do that. It'd be a different look. But if this is a big trouble for you, if you can't find where that hole is, that is an option for you to work these stitches.
So are you going through the front loop right now?
Nope, I'm going through both of them. Yep.
Gotcha.
So if I was just going through the front loop, I would just have that front loop right there. But I'm going through both. So that's why I have the V, like I have the front loop and the back loop. It's right there. Can you see it?
I can see
Hard
it
to
now.
see? Okay. Okay. Let's get through this dark color and hopefully it will all pan out. Okay. I have more yarn if I need to get a different color. So I'm just going down and I'm putting a double crochet into the top of each one of these double crochets. That's all I'm doing. And I will do it all the way down to that marked stitch.
So we have a couple of questions about the pattern.
Yep. I'm going to talk about that here in a second.
Oh,
About the back posts and stuff.
yes.
Okay. Because we're working with beginner stuff, I wanted to make sure I showed both. All right. All right, so I'm coming all the way down here. I'm going to go through this last stitch. I'm just going through the actual chain. And then I'm going to chain 3 and turn or turn and chain 3. All right, so this is working through both of the loops. So front loop, back loop, you work through both loops. See how you don't get any sort of a lip or a ridge? It's a very smooth transition. Can you guys see that? Are you able to tell? It's a smooth transition. So with the pattern, we're going to work through what's called just the back loop. And when we do that, it's going to give us a ridge along our row. So I want to show you how this works. So we've chained 3. We know that that counts as a double crochet. So we would take our marker, you move the marker up, place it into the chain behind the loop on your hook, because that's the new first stitch of your row, right? If you'll just move these markers up each row. You will not put a double crochet into this first spot. We're going to go to the second spot, but we're going to only work into the back chain. So if we worked into both, it would look like this. But by working through the back loop only, it's like you're looking at the V here and you're just grabbing the back leg of that V. Are you guys able to see that? Is it visible? Yes.
I can see it.
Okay. So you're going to turn and you work in the back loops only. So that's the back loop only. And what this is going to do, you finish your double crochet through the back loop only, it's going to give us this really nice ridge. And so I'm just going through each one through the back loop only all the way to the end. I want you to be able to see the difference. And the thing here is you can do either one you want, whatever works best for you, and it would still look awesome. The first time I learned to crochet, I did the entire blanket through the back loop only because that's what I was supposed to do. But I didn't realize you could go through any other loop. I just thought that's just how you crocheted, was only through the back loop only. But there are lots of options. If you guys can hear the TV, I apologize. That's my son upstairs, and apparently he's deaf. Who knew? If you're 16, you could be deaf. Anyways, all right, so I'm at the end here. Obviously going through the back loop only on this last chain is a little bit tricky. So I don't even stress about it. I just find the chain and I work into the actual chain itself because I think it gives a better line. So I would yarn over, go through the chain, and then work my double crochet. But on this one, now that it's done, can you see there's that ridge right there? Can you see the difference? I don't know if you can. So this is without working through the back loop only. This is working through both. And this one is working through the back loop only. So you start to get this nice ridge. Chain 3 and turn, or turn and chain 3. It doesn't really matter. Take your marker, put it into that chain behind the loop on your hook, and carry on. Make sure you do not go into that first one. Remember, because this one is already representing that first one. So we're going to go into the back leg of that next one. And we just repeat this until this measures 21 inches. So I'm just going to keep going here for, I don't know, let's go for like another 10 minutes on this. And then we can work on the next piece and just kind of put the two together. We'll see how far I can get. And you guys can do the same. Sound like a plan, everybody?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Okay. All right, good.
And if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Juanita wants to know if you can show how to turn again.
Sure. Let me get to the end of this row and I'll show you. It's literally as easy as thinking you're turning to the other side of a piece of paper and you're going to like turn it over to work on the opposite side. It's sort of the same idea. So I'm going to get to the end here. And if you have markers, I really encourage you to use them because it really helps making sure that your edges are nice and straight. So I'm at the end, I'm looking at this side and I want to be able to work back on this way. So I just turned it over. See? So it's like I'm at the end of the row and I just turn it. Then I chain 3, move my marker. I mean, I've been crocheting for, gosh, 22 years and I still use markers. I love them. All right. And back loop only. And like I said, guys, you don't have to work through the back loop only. If you wanted to work through both loops, you could do that. You could even alternate it, work through back loop, front loop, back loop. Like there's so many different options for you. But I did want you to see the difference between both and just the back loop. So that way you could decide what works best for you and see like what the difference is as far as, you know, what does that mean?
So Becky's asking, if you're a lefty, would you just do everything backwards?
Yeah. So let me see here if I can. Sometimes I can do this. Sometimes I can't. So with a lefty, I have to hold like a knife with a lefty. You would yarn over, let's see, I think it's, yeah, yarn over. You would go into the back loop. Let's see. So you would be front loop if you wanted it to look like mine, but you don't have to. Go through the back loop, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2. Ooh, this is mad skills, everybody.
It's very impressive.
And draw through 2. Oh man, you can see I really stretched the crap out of that, but you can see the idea. But this is what you would do. So you yarn over, go to the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. I'm going to stabilize, use my own words, draw through 2, yarn over, stabilize, draw through 2. Did it work? Oh, look, that is much better. But yeah, so that's how you would do it if you're left-handed. This is why I get paid the big bucks, everybody, right here. For most of the videos I do on YouTube, I try and, because I can film a video right-handed and then you can edit it to where it's flipped to show that it's left-handed so people can see. You can see there. Here's what's interesting. Since I just flipped this over so that way I was looking like I was working left-handed, as right-handed, it looks like I was working through the front loop. But then when I flipped it, see, I'm working through the back loop as a lefty. But it's going to be the same thing for you. Does that help you? Is that Becky?
Becky just wrote, wow, thanks.
Okay, cool. So that's how that's
She's very impressed.
All right. All right, so I'm going to take that out so that way I can go back. Isn't that funny how like I totally crochet like a pencil right-handed, but when it's left-handed, I have to hold it like a knife. I'm like, oh, I can't do that.
You're using different parts of your brain.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's helpful because I am a knitter. And so knitters, you know, you use both hands to knit really. And so that really helped me a lot when I was able to kind of essentially translate left-handed crochet to knitting and be able to understand how it all works out and how the motions kind of work together. I want to get through both of these. I hate just going through one leg on a chain. I think it really stretches out. You guys see what I mean here? So like if I wanted to, I could just take that back leg on that chain and work through it. But I think it really stretches out that edge. So I always go through a chain where I have 2 loops on my hook when I go through it. I think it just looks better personally. So even though I'm not going to get that little lip over there at the very edge, I think it just gives a nice cleaner edge going straight up. Okay. So this would be where I would turn and chain 3, or chain 3 and turn. It really doesn't matter. You do what works best for you. Put my marker there and carry on. All right, so I'm just going to keep crocheting and see how far I can get here.
So Gail was asking how many rows do you need to crochet?
With this particular pattern, it's not written out for rows, which is really actually kind of nice if you want to substitute yarn. It's written out as far as making it so that you keep repeating this row until the entire piece measures 21 inches. Or think about it, you want it to measure, you know, the circumference around your head. You know what I mean? So I don't know how many rows that would be. The gauge itself is actually not given on this pattern, so I couldn't even like give you a guesstimate.
I guess you can start crocheting and kind of measure as you go.
Yep, exactly.
Shirley was asking what to do for a kid size. So that's probably how I would hack it.
Yep, I would, if you were to make it for a kid size, I just, like, if the kid is there with you, keep measuring around their head the whole time. If not, yeah, I'm not going to use a marker for this one. If not, I mean, kid sizes are usually around 18 inches to 20 inches. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, think about it, you know, a baby's head is usually like 16 inches circumference. So it's really not that far off. I mean, you're pretty safe going anywhere from 18 to 20 inches.
Shirley's also asking if to make it smaller, you would make less chains.
If you wanted it smaller this way, yeah. But let's see here. So it says wrap the tie around the seam of the headband together. All right, so yeah, I mean, you don't even like fold these together, do we? Let's see, fold piece in half. All right, so let's just talk about this. The joining row. So it says what you would do is you're going to fold this in half, lining up the stitches of the foundation chain with the stitches of the last row, working through both layers, single crochet each. So not even this way, it's this way. So if you wanted it thinner this way, like this is going around, I don't know, can you guys go to my head? Can you go to my face real quick? Thanks. That was a really weird statement. That's something I never thought I'd say before, right? So this piece here is going around our head like this, right? So if you wanted it narrower, you could make fewer double crochets, because when this piece is long enough, you're gonna seam this edge, the foundation chain, to that edge. I'm reading that right? Working through both layers, single crochet. Yeah. So you're just joining. We're gonna make it a circle, and then we're gonna make another little tiny part, a tie, where it says chain 8, single crochet, and then we wrap that around where we've tied it into a circle, and it makes kind of this spa sort of headband. I mean, it's really easy. So if you wanted this narrower, you don't really even have to overthink it. If you're like, 16 chains was kind of a lot, I think I might do 10, do 10. It really doesn't matter. And then as far as the distance around, know that it is going to stretch. So you want to make sure you put it around your head and make sure it gives a little stretch. Like, don't have it so tight it's going to cause you to have a headache, obviously. But yeah, you want to have a little bit of a give and stretch. And then the little portion, I mean, that's just single crochets, and that's just enough essentially to cover your seam. It's pretty simple stuff. You don't even have to add that if you don't want to. You can just put the seam, like put it on and then shove the seam so it's at the back of your neck. Hey, awesome, you're done. You just saved yourself that much more time. All right, let's go back to my hands. Now that I'm done like showing everything with big O's, did that answer the question? Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Could you use this for men without? Yeah, you totally could. There are no limits. I mean, shoot, you guys, you could stop working this like at 10 inches or 12 inches and call it a boot cuff, seam it together and have boot cuffs. You could do anything you want with this. Anything you want. This is just such a good little stepping point for so much. All right, take this marker out. I keep talking a lot, so I'm not getting very far.
That's okay. We're just chit-chatting.
Full body demonstrations, you know, why not?
Why not?
Get it all with Marley Bird. There you go. All right. So I'm not going to add, if you notice, I haven't added my stitch markers. So I'm going to keep going here. And as you get going, if you don't want to add your stitch markers, you don't have to, but they are there to help you keep track of the number of stitches you have, should you have a problem keeping things straight. It's just an easy solution. I mean, you guys want a variation of something else you could do? You could do front post, back post stitches too.
What will that do?
I will show you. It'll give
Awesome.
you like a cool sort of ribbing sort of look. Here, I'll get to the end here and then I'll do some front post, back post. I mean, why not? Let's show something else.
Let's go crazy on a Tuesday night.
Go crazy. Patricia, I like you.
Oh.
All right. Okay, let's see here. All right, so I'm gonna chain 3. So I'll just do a front post to begin with. So I'll go around. So if I come from the front, I'm actually going to go all the way around the post of this stitch. So I'm going to go from the right side, around the back, out the left. Obviously, if you're left-handed, that's a different like direction. I guess I should talk through. In the right, around the back, out the left, yarn over, and then take your hook that same path back and up, and then complete your double crochet. And then I'm going to do that with the back over here. So I go from the back, I go from the right side around the front to the left side, yarn over, take my hook that same path back, and then complete my double. And I'm just going to mix these up. I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to go to the back. Sounds like there's a song there. To the front, to the back.
There's definitely something there.
There's something there. Absolutely.
So if you are wondering, this class is being recorded and you'll have access to it within 24 hours.
Yes.
Watch it as many times, maybe you'll come up with your own song.
Yeah, there you go. I told Tamara Kelly from Moogly Blog that we should do some sort of like a parody video of anything you can do, I can do better, and have it like crochet versus knitting. And I thought
I love that idea.
Right? Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be really funny. Once COVID's over, maybe we'll be able to do it so we can actually like get together.
That would be awesome.
Right?
Janetta says that there is a song like that.
Which one? The to the front, to the
back?
The back? To the side, and then we dip, right? Isn't there like a something like that? Okay, so I did a front post, back post, front post, back post. You can kind of see I get like this sort of a lot of texture there. So then then I just did a basic double crochet at the end. So if I did a chain 3 and turn, or turn and chain 3, obviously I would skip that first one because that's represented there. If I'm looking at a back, see how I'm looking at a back post, I would work a back post on top of that one or through that one, or however you want to view it. Then I'm looking at a front one, so I would work a front post. I'm looking at a back, so I could work a back post. Or if I wanted to, I could do the opposite and get a completely different look. I mean, you guys are learning so much here. Like there's so many options here to get so many different looks. Just from I mean, we're just making a basic rectangle is essentially what we're doing.
I like how versatile this pattern is.
Yeah,
very
right?
beginner friendly.
I think so. To learn a bunch of stuff here.
So Alexa's asking about other classes, and I do believe our classes go on live Tuesdays and Saturdays.
I think I have one Thursday this week. But
awesome.
It's in the afternoon. Like I think it's like at 1 o'clock or something. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I have one on Thursday this week.
I will get you more information, Alexia.
All right. So I just stacked them. So I'm gonna do the same thing again. You don't have to do this, y'all. I mean, it's just trying to show you something different. Oh, I put a knot in my yarn. Like, there it goes. Okay. So I'm looking at a front, it's all front post. You know, I mean, obviously I'm using one color of yarn here, but if you had scraps of yarn lying around, you just wanted to do like color blocking, you could do like maybe an inch or two in one color and then an inch or two in another color, or, you know, you could do anything you want. This is a great scrap project. Maybe you do the body of the headband in one color and you do the tie in a different color. There's so many different options here.
Oh,
Great.
Kelly's using a variegated yarn. That's pretty.
Yeah. This is cool.
Are you making any of your holiday gifts?
Me?
Yes.
So this is gonna sound funny. I don't know how many people know this, but I did a knit along earlier this year called This or That. It was a sweater knit along, and I never finished my sample. And so my mom wants it really badly. And I can't remember if it was the this or the that sweater, but it's one of those. It's the one with it's a turtleneck yoke and it was top down. And so I'm finishing that up for my mom. But
oh, nice.
yeah, can you see that, guys? And then it looks the same on the other side. Gives a really cool kind of waffle stitch. So like, whereas we worked through post or the back leg down here, and then this one down here is the one that I worked through both legs. And then these are the post stitches. Obviously you get a different look, but we're all still just using double crochets. Just a different look.
That looks really pretty.
It's neat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go even further and go different, where instead of working around posts and instead of working through both, maybe I work through that big old space and create a double. And then work through that big old space and create a double instead of working through any particular stitches. And then that's even more beginner friendly because you don't have to find any like one leg of a stitch or anything. It's just a big old gap and you're just working through it. The hardest part, I guess, for that would just be, and it's not even hard, it's just at the end, you do have to work through an actual chain at the very end just to make sure you have stitches that all count. Make sure I have the right stitch count. I'm going to count my stitches just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. See what I mean? So I would undo that last one. So for that one, it doesn't look too different, right? You just work through those big gaps. But it's even more user-friendly. So this would be the first one. This will be 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14 is in my chain.
So Gab has a question.
Sure.
Can you please remind us where to put the stitch markers?
Sure, I can do that right now. So you either chain 3 and turn or turn and chain 3, either one, it doesn't matter. So I just chained 3 and I have this, I'm going to take my hook out. This loop right here is what was on my hook. Okay. You see that V right there? this is where I want to put my stitch marker, is right there through that V. So it's the V that would be behind my hook. And that's the top of what would be my stitch right there. And that's where the last stitch of my row will be. I can put my hook back in. I just took the hook out just so you guys could see, just so you know. And then when you do that, when you're putting your marker in where a series of chains count as a stitch, you will not put that first stitch into that first space there. You go to the next space, whether you're working through the whole space or just the back loop or just the front loop or just that big gap or just the post, whatever it is, it's the next one. Okay? Was that helpful? Let's see, I'm going to go through, I'm going to do the same thing again. Go through the gap so you guys can see.
Gap says thanks.
Awesome. You're welcome. I aim to please. Now, if you're making this and say you're really cramped for time, like you're looking to make a quickie gift because somebody is coming over, you had no idea that they were going to be there in like an hour or so, and you need something done fast. So if you didn't want to do double crochets, you could do treble crochets, or you could hold together 2 strands of yarn and use a bigger hook and work even faster. Like this is such a versatile pattern because you're just dealing with like inches and stuff, like measurements. You can make this work for you without any problems. Like if you were holding 2 strands of yarn together and having a bigger hook to make your stitches bigger, obviously you would need fewer stitches, and then it would just go like gangbusters as far as the length by the time you got to 21. I want you to see something here. When you work through the gap between the posts, you see how they kind of look like they're spread out a little bit? You see how they look more spread out than down here where we're actually working through the loops? Okay, so that's, if you're looking for a different look, that's something else you can think of. So we have through both legs, through just the back leg, through post stitches, through the gap between the posts. And then if we wanted to do a treble, so this is like, okay, somebody's coming over, we need to work on this really fast. You would actually chain 4. So I would chain 4 and turn. Same idea, I could use a marker. I'd put it in the loop behind the loop on my hook, or in the chain behind the loop on my hook. So it'd be my 4th chain. I'm still going to count this as my treble, but this time for a treble crochet, you yarn over your hook twice before you begin. So it's like before I even start, I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I would go in to, I'll just work through both legs. Okay. So you can work through both legs. You do whatever you want, but I'm going to work through both legs. Yarn over, pull up a loop. So now it looks like I have 4 loops on my hook. You yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. See, I get a super tall stitch. So when I tell you this is going to be done in no time, it really is, because it's just a really tall stitch. And if you're using it as a headband, I mean, it's not like you're looking for it to be like super warm or anything. It's just kind of decorative. I mean, I guess, if you're using these down here, it could be super warm, but this is a different look. It's a different stitch. It's a different technique. You're now a new designer. Okay.
Amazing.
So slap your name on it and call it a new design.
I love it.
Yeah. Use a variegated yarn, use multicolored yarns, use anything you want. And you have a completely different style here. And it's done in no time. I mean, you can see, look how tall those are compared to, right? And you get such a cool look. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. All right. So I want to make sure you guys know how to do single crochets. And I want to make sure you know how to seam this up. Oh, that should have been a trouble. Because it says fold the piece in half, lining up the stitches of the foundation chain with the stitches of the last row, working through both layers, single crochet each stitch across the row. So I want to show you how you would do that. It's really quite easy, y'all. I mean, don't overthink it. And if you do find this difficult, if you find single crocheting the 2 layers together, you could always just cut a long tail and whip stitch them together. You know, like it doesn't have to be a single crochet. It can be anything you want that gets the job done. All right, don't be a slave to the pattern. You have my permission. If somebody says to you, hey, you're not supposed to do it that way, say, yes, I can. Marley said I could, and that's fine. You just give them my website and have them contact me. That's totally fine. I will be your doctor's note, so to speak, okay? All right, so I'm gonna come here to the end. And what it wants us to do is it wants us to take our beginning chains here and match them up over here, and then single crochet through both. So you can have it to where it lines up where this is on front or where it lines up where that is on back. Whatever works for you. It doesn't really matter. And then does it tell you to chain one? Because usually I chain one. All right, so I usually would chain one. It doesn't tell you to. I usually would chain one and then working through both layers. So I'm going to go through both of those V's here. And then with the open like loop down there that I didn't use on my foundation chain, I'm going to put my hook through that. So you see how I'm through all of those layers, yarn over, pull that yarn over through both of those layers. So I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2. I do the next one. I go through that stitch. I go to the next open loop on my foundation chain, yarn over, pull through both layers, and single crochet. And this is a way you can seam things together like for a lot of things. Like this is a really great way to seam things together. I know if you're making granny squares, you're making motifs, if you're making a garment, if you're doing something at a shoulder where it needs to hold a lot of weight, using a nice big seam like this is really good because it can hold the weight of your garment. Have no idea why the designer chose this for this pattern, probably because it's really easy and you don't have to have a ton of ends to weave in because everything's all done in one place. That would be my guess. Like I would have done it this way because it's just simple. Just joins everything together. And you know what? This is about big enough that it's like a really big coffee koozie, you know? So when in doubt and your company shows up early and you're like, oh my gosh, seam it up and call it a coffee cozy, okay? Like call it good because we just made lemonade out of lemons, right? Is that what that's called? And
I think that's how the expression goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So right there, I always end with like a chain one and then I cut. Pro tip, add a pom-pom to your scissors. You'll never lose them. Like seriously.
Or a wristband, says Shirley.
Right? So like there's my little headband thing, obviously. Like it really could be like a koozie. This is not, I should close this before I spill things everywhere. But look, I could put this on here.
Nice.
And do anything I want. And then the little extra bit, obviously I have this seam right here. So can you guys see the seam? Yeah. So the extra bit is the part that kind of pulls that together, and it's just a band. It's just a single crochet band. So that is pretty basic. I mean, you guys know how to do your slip knot. So I'm going to work through that real quick. We're going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the second chain from hook. Do I count the loop on my hook? No. Good job, Donna. So I count 1 and I count 2 and I'll go single crochet into the second chain from hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. And I do that into each one all the way down. And then just like on the other one, the instructions want you to work through the back loop only on the single crochet. You, just like the other one, have a choice whether you want to do that or if you want to work through both. You literally could do anything you want. When you get to the end, you chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1. It doesn't matter. This does not count as a stitch. So this would be one of those examples where you would start right here at the beginning, working through that back leg or wherever you're going to make that stitch and create your single crochet. And you just carry on. And if you want to use your markers, you can use that on these as well. You would actually add your marker after you complete that first single crochet, that V that's created right there. Here, I'll just rip back. So this would be as if I chained 1 and turned. After I work that first single crochet, I have a V right there at the top of that stitch. Take my marker, place it in that V, and that's the top of my stitch. So when I come back, I know where it is. See how that works? And so here's another tip. If you're trying to save time, like you're like, oh, I just have a little bit more, combine single crochet rows and then do a double crochet row, and then do a single crochet row and then do a double crochet row, and really like maximize your time to get this as big as you want. And then just like before, you wrap it around, you'll tie it around, you wrap it around this, and then you just seam the ends together. So you would cover up this portion here. It's pretty easy. I mean, you guys, am I going too fast? Are you guys understanding this? No, I'm going to, no, I'm not. No, you're not understanding, or no, I'm not going too fast. I can't tell. I can't, there's a lot of this and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Jean says you're okay.
Okay, good. I mean, it's pretty easy. There are, I mean, you can't go wrong with this, you guys, because even if it's a little wonky on the sides, nobody's ever going to know once it's on the head. You know what I mean? Just work this. Work it. Work it. Work it.
And the video will be available, so you can watch it as many times as you need to.
Yeah, because you guys know you want to do that. Can't get enough of me. The crazy instructions. Actually, in all honesty, I really hope this was helpful. Being able to see that you do have options. You know what I mean? Like you do not have to be a slave to the pattern, and don't ever let a pattern make you feel bad. If you want to change things up, you are okay. You can change things up as much as you want. Make it your own. I mean, if we're being honest, that's how half the designers in this world become designers, is they decide to not follow a pattern and just create things on their own, and people like it and they're like, I should do this more often, and they just go on their own path and become wonderful designers. But
that is the truth.
You see? So you get kind of that kind of squishiness. So you would carry on, and you just wrap it around that, and it becomes the tie of there. That's it. I mean, that's it. I don't know what more to show. I don't know. How we feeling? I'm going to come back to my face, Bianca. Awesome. Here I am. All right. So now I'm going to look at all your pretty faces out there. If you've worked on it, show me what you got. Show me what you're working with, everybody. Look at it. Oh, perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Look how far they got. You guys got further than me because you didn't have to talk. You're like, okay, lady, just keep talking. I'm just going to sit here and listen. That's awesome. Daniela Demir, look at you. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of all of you. Cindy, Priscilla, Donna, oh my gosh, this is so great. Oh, wow. You guys are doing fantastic. I am so proud of all of you. Okay, I don't know what your name is, 1264807. You look like you're doing awesome. Yes, you guys are doing so great out there. I am so proud of you. Are you proud of yourself? Myrtle, that's great. I love the color. Oh, this is awesome. So how many of you plan on finishing this up like tonight, and you're like, I'm going to wear this tomorrow? Yes, I love it. This is so, I have goosebumps. Patricia, I have goosebumps. Okay.
That is awesome.
All right. When you guys finish this, if you are on social media, make sure you share with us. Use hashtag Yarnspirations, hashtag Make It With Michaels, right? Is that what it is? And then, or hashtag Marley Bird. If you want me to see it, hashtag Marley Bird. I would love to see it. And if you watch my YouTube channel, you know I say I'm going to smash your like button, okay? I will find your work and I will smash your like button because I think this is amazing. You guys are doing such a good job out there.
Great
and
job.
If you put variations on it, kudos to you. You got this. Oh, I love it. I love all those happy faces. Well, if you want to watch this video again, it is recorded and it's usually available about 24 to 48 hours after this air date. So you guys can absolutely do that. Make sure you let Michaels know you love me. So I get to come back for more. The free pattern, once again, is available at yarnspirations.com. Patricia did put it in the chat once again, so you can quickly get to it. But that's it for me, everybody. I'll let Patricia take us on out. I'm so proud of all of you.
Everyone's work looks amazing.
It's so good.
Yes. So what are we missing? I put the pattern in the comments, so you have that. You can watch the video again tomorrow over and over until you complete your project. And am I missing anything else, Marley?
Just use the hashtag Make It With Michaels and show
Make It With Michaels. Yeah, and Marley Bird.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good job, you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
So awesome. They did such a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it.